Hey, you guys, what's up? Happy Saint Paddy's Day. Anybody that celebrates, probably out at the bars. I mean, isn't it a drinking holiday? It's pretty much just there so you can go out, get your pints in, let's go. Of course, Dropkick Murphys, Flogging Molly. Shout out to all our Irish punks out there. All right, let's do this. Let's do a brand new episode. We're doing it. MXPX.com. We have merchandise. We have some things cooking. So go check that out. Appreciate you. All the support. All love. Thank you. Please, we need some more voicemails. Call in. Ladies, always lacking the female perspective on this show. So if you listen to the show, and I'm sure it's mostly guys out there, but we'd love to hear from you. So call in. The number is 360-830-6660. Leave me a voicemail. It could be about whatever it is you want. What's on your mind? What's on your heart? What are you thinking about these days? I'd love to hear about it. All right, let's do this. Your voicemails today. We'll see what happens. All right, let's start out with the first one. Here we go.
Hey, Mike, what's going on? This is Phil. I've called before. I'm actually from Charlotte, North Carolina, but growing up, I lived in Phoenix. So I've called before about shows in Arizona and stuff. We talked about you guys playing You Walk, I Run at that sound check at Gibson's in Tempe. Anyway, just wanted to call because I was listening to one of the recent episodes. You mentioned never getting into the Grateful Dead, which I think is a kind of a tried and true story for all of us who were into kind of like punk, emo, metal scenes, whatever. And I just wanted to say I feel exactly the same way, and I was never into them, even when I had friends who were like super into them. But I would say check out the song Me and My Uncle by the Grateful Dead. It's off one of their live albums, like one of the early ones, I believe. And it's Bob Weir singing it, I think, not Jerry Garcia. But I was going to say that's the one song that like kind of turned me around a little bit on the Grateful Dead, because it's just like an old kind of country sounding kind of like song that like, it, you know, just kind of like a fun one. I would say check that out. You probably know Touch of Grey too. They're like, I think early 90s hit that was like sort of like a middle of the road, like rock kind of staple. But yeah, give it a shot. Obviously I don't really like Grateful Dead that much, but I was going to say check out Me and My Uncle. I think you'll kind of get down to it. Take care, man.
You can admit it. You love the Grateful Dead. No, you were spot on. I do not listen to the Grateful Dead. Never really got into them. Didn't even know their biggest song, Touch of Grey. But you called back in, so let's play that.
Hey, sorry, Mike. Phil again from Charlotte. I just called. Sorry, every time I do this, I like stumble over my words and forget what I was actually trying to say. So I truly apologize. Anyway, just wanted to run back on that Grateful Dead song, Me and My Uncle. It's from the album Live at Fillmore East. Make sure it's that version. That's the one I really jam out to. And it's one of their kind of better known live albums, even though Grateful Dead is all live albums. That's why I had to clarify, because obviously if you search just Me and My Uncle by Grateful Dead, you'll get like a million live versions. So it's Live at Fillmore East. I think it was from the late 60s or 70s. But the other thing I wanted to say about it is why it kind of finally got through to me on that song is it reminds me a lot of Tumbledown, just sort of in that, you know, kind of country westernish tradition, but not entirely. Like it's still got kind of like a rock, kind of like fuck you feel to it, even though it is based in like sort of like a country kind of shuffling thing. And that's very much Tumbledown to me. That's like kind of what you guys are all about, and sort of reaching back to that tradition but putting your own spin on it. So I think that's why that song kind of grabs me from the Grateful Dead. It was written by John Phillips, who I believe was a member of the Mamas and the Papas. So it's not even written by the Grateful Dead. It was like kind of not even a traditional song, but just like a song in that sort of like old cowboy songwriter tradition that the Mamas and the Papas dude wrote, then was recorded by like a woman first, I think. I forget her name. And then it sort of was recorded by a few other people, and then the Grateful Dead picked up on it. Anyway, yeah, just some history on that song. Take care, man.
Phil, thanks for the history. I love that. So Grateful Dead, you know, when you said Tumbledown, I actually looked up the song. So let me find it here. Let's play it I'm just going to play a short snippet. We can't obviously play the whole song. It'll probably get flagged or something, but it'll get flagged anyway, I'm sure. Here we go. Yeah, I can hear Tumbledown right there. Just like the super bluesy, fast, Harley on the drums. It just goes and goes and goes. I don't know if that's the right version or not, but I didn't really check that. But hey, you know what? You're right on though. That does have a Tumbledown vibe to it. It really does swing, and I don't hate that song. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool song. So I remember when I was getting into punk rock, I liked Black Flag, so I was just like, everything's got to sound like Black Flag. Everything's got to be punk. And, at that point, I listened to Tom Petty, and I heard Tom Petty for the first time, and it was like Free Fallin', which is a great song, Chef's Kiss. And I didn't like it. I've told this story before, just this idea that our first perception of music, depending on where we are in our lives, can really have an effect on whether or not you like something and what direction you go to. But of course, so over the years, I've become a fan of all these bands that I really didn't like, or artists that I really didn't like that much in my punk phase, because I just wanted hardcore, I wanted punk rock, I listened to Black Flag, I listened to The Descendants, The Descendants was probably like the lightest stuff I listened to, but no, Dead Milkmen, Violent Femmes, big influences on me. So I just didn't, I was listening to like Op Ivy. I didn't know what ska was, and I was listening to Op Ivy. How weird is that? Like, I hadn't heard other ska bands. I didn't know they were a ska band. They were just a punk band to me that sounded weird. They were doing some weird thing, but hey, that's cool. All right. So it's just funny how we perceive things when we know nothing about the real world going on. So obviously I discovered that Tom Petty was an absolute genius, musical genius, and not everybody likes Tom Petty. And I'm a fan of Bob Dylan. I don't listen to him that often, but I'm a fan. Like, I like his mind. I like that he does what he does, and he's out there doing. I've definitely been influenced by Dylan plenty, and he's written some amazing lyrics and very thoughtful, thought-provoking lyrics. So that really inspires me in a lot of ways. So hearing Grateful Dead, yes, I'm going to give this to you. That's a win for Phil from North Carolina, and he kind of nailed it. It does sound a little like Tumbledown. I hadn't heard it, but I know Jack Parker, the lead guitar player for Tumbledown. He definitely has heard those songs. He's a Grateful Dead. He's probably a Deadhead a little bit, or at least used to be. He's done his time in the blues jam band space that I have not done. And, I think that's kind of what made Tumbledown really cool, was mixing a traditional blues and country band, and rock. I mean, they were rock for sure. I got something in my eye. I'm talking about Tumbledown here. All those guys, Marshall, Harley, Jack, they were all really, really great at what they did. And none of them were from the punk scene. I would say the Trotland Brothers, they had heard punk. They knew MXPX. They knew other punk bands. They knew probably NoFX and Pennywise. And yes, they knew punk, but they really spent their time in the blues, in the jazz, in the classic rock, we would say nowadays, or even then, 70s, 60s, just really old stuff. I'm a fan of Jackson Browne, and I know that those guys love that style of rock, and so having them come together with me being from a punk background, being from a more simplistic songwriting background, like I want this hook to hit, I want these lyrics to hit. Instead of just stretching it out, jamming, it was more about, for me, the song, boom, boom, boom. So it was like we mixed, kind of like new country today is a lot like that, to be honest. But I feel like we mixed it together before before it was really even that popular. So Tumbledown for the win. Great question. Not question. I guess it wasn't a question, but I guess it was, are you a fan of Grateful Dead? Probably not. That's a question. But if you guys haven't checked out Tumbledown, we have a live album. I think it's called Live in Tulsa, recorded by Stephen Edgerton, guitar player for the Descendants. We actually, when we were on tour, we rolled into town, stayed at his house, and we played a show. Well, we played a show in Oklahoma City, and John Moreland opened, I think, and then I don't know if he opened the Tulsa show. I don't remember. The Tulsa show was basically, we did it so we could record a live album because Stefan was like, "Hey, I'll bring my stuff, come to Tulsa." so we would literally like booked a show at some bar or some place in Tulsa. It was cool. Like, it was a great show. It wasn't like packed. It was probably a Tuesday night somewhere. Back in those days, that was probably around 2010, 2000, somewhere in there. But we have a live album. We have 2 full-length albums. We have some 7-inches. Check out Arrested in El Paso Blues. Check out Son of a Gun. These are songs. Check out what's that, track 1 off our second album, Empty Bottle. Track 1. Places in This Town. I always liked that song, Places in This Town. And Tom Wisniewski, I've mentioned this on the podcast, specifically loves I'm Still Here, which is a song off the first Tumbledown album. I think it's song 2 or 3. I'm Still Here. He's like, "Man, you can't be putting all those bangers on Tumbledown albums. If it's a good song and it's like upbeat and fast like that, we can make that an MXPX song." And I'm like, "Okay, you're right. All right. I'll bring it to you guys. If it's a really good song, I'll bring it to you. If it's a bad song, that's Tumbledown." So I'm kidding. I really had a good time writing Tumbledown songs back then. Who knows? For those that want to know, are we ever coming back? Will we ever do anything? I think maybe. I think once MXPX needs a longer break, then yes. But right now, MXPX is on such a tear. We're growing and growing, and the shows are getting bigger. And I know we don't have a lot of shows right now nothing announced, but we're working on things, and I'm writing songs for what could be a new album, a new single, something. I think I got an idea for a Halloween song. Now, are we releasing a Halloween song? Probably not. Like, don't get your hopes up. But like, I'm just writing and letting it flow, and as I get closer to being done with stuff, then maybe I'll talk about it a little more. I'll involve the guys. Like, I send stuff to like Tom Wisniewski, and I send him ideas, and he'll give me not feedback on what to change. He'll just be like, "Yeah, that's a badass title," or "This is great. Yes, I like that." Like he's just in the positive stage right now. It's too early to start ripping things apart. But like when I do bring the song to the full band, then we will start nitpicking a little bit more than maybe like right when I'm writing the song. But nitpicking is kind of the wrong way to describe it. It's more like producing, pre-production even, but we want the song to be the best it can be. Sometimes there's things that I overlook in the writing, but I always say I'm trying to do that, but I'm trying to do that even more with a different thought in my mind. Like, I'm not going to share exactly what I'm thinking about a lyric or how I do this, but I am thinking, and I think my little, not trick, but the reason why I don't want to tell you is because it's like, I don't know. I feel weird about it, but it's like a songwriting thing. So I don't want to color anybody's expectations. That's why I don't want to tell you what I'm doing. So, but I am writing, and it's going well. I'm having fun. I mean, it's never easy, but it is fun when you're making progress. Like when you're at the end of the day, when you have a full song, maybe it's not demoed yet because you can't, you haven't figured out the transitions into the bridge and out of the bridge. Or usually that's my problem, to be honest, is like I get the verse, intro, verse, chorus, if there's a pre-chorus or whatever, the traditional parts of the song we'll go with, right? And if there's going to be a bridge or an instrumental break, that's usually the last thing that I insert, because I kind of want to I want to know how it's going. And sometimes I'll write I'll write a chorus and it ends up being a bridge. Because I'll write a new chorus, it's like, okay, this isn't a chorus. It's good, but it's not good enough to want to hear over and over. So like, let's make this a bridge. Let's take this somewhere else with these lyrics. They're still good. So one thing I will tell you is I'm just, I'm going over lyrics and I'm really trying to make it make sense. At least it has to make sense to me. Like, can I explain what I'm trying to say here? And if I can explain what I'm trying to say, then that's a big win. So, all right. Let's do a couple more voicemails. Here we go.
Hi, Mike. My name is Kareem. I'm a drummer and bass player. I caught you guys last week in LA and San Diego, and it was awesome. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, like, when Goldfinger approached you to play with them, just kind of how you go about learning the music. Is it all by ear? Do they send you charts? Do you sit down and work through the songs? Of course, now you know them all, but when you first joined, kind of how that process worked. Did you have rehearsals and talk over things? And also, like, how it works with booking, like, in terms of, I saw you guys, I saw Goldfinger in...
Okay, I'm gonna pause you there. All right, Kareem. First question, Goldfinger. How did I first learn all the songs? How did they approach me? I think I've told the story, I'll just briefly mention it. John just called me one day and was like, hey, I was actually at my parents' house, if I remember correctly. And he's like, hey, you want to go to Australia, play bass? I'm like, at the time MXPX was doing a little bit, but we weren't crazy busy. And I was just coming out of that, Tumbledown era as well. And sort of like looking for the next, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back full on into MXPX? Probably, but it really was sort of like it helped me make some early connections and kind of reconnect with John. I didn't know him that well prior to that. I did know him, but I didn't know him super well. So he was calling me. It was like, okay, this is strange, but like, okay, like, cool. But nowadays it's not as weird when, people like that call me. But that was like probably around, I think it was 2013 when I went to Australia with them. So I've been in the band 12 years. I mean, if you consider me in the band the whole time, I mean, I at the time I was just kind of filling in, but like, since I just kind of stayed ever since, I've been in the band. I'm in the band. I'm in Goldfinger. So, what did I do? This is fun. This is a fun question because this is exactly what I do. Whether it comes to, I've done it over the years, it's different songs, MXPX, Goldfinger, cover songs. But when I had to learn all those Goldfinger songs, I got a set list. I didn't get charts or chords or anything like that. I got a set list of songs. All right, learn these songs. And so I had to just go to my Spotify or Apple Music or whatever and just make a playlist. And at the time I actually had an app on my phone. I still have it. It just doesn't work very well, but I had an app that was like an amp. It was called Amplitude or Amplitude, I think. And you have a thing that goes into your phone, and then that goes in your headphones, and then that goes, there's like, you're hooking it all up into your phone. And I could play my bass or guitar, but I could play my bass and hear it in here, and then I could play the music and hear it. So I would just play along. I would listen to it and learn the parts by ear. That's how I learn everything on Goldfinger. Still to this day, I learn by ear. Now, it's gotten a lot easier for rehearsals these days, because in the early days, yes, I would show up maybe a day early, go down to Calabasas. He lived in the Valley, actually, when I first joined the band. He lived in the Valley down in the LA area, but the Valley area of Los Angeles. And San Fernando Valley, sorry, to be more specific. He had a studio down there or up there, whatever. For me, it's down, usually being from Bremerton. So I show up for rehearsals. Sometimes it's Travis Barker. Sometimes it's, it's been different drummers over the years. We've had Aaron Stern from Matchbook Romance, also the drummer of Drugs, that band that almost was big. Didn't quite work out for them. Those that know. But a lot of them people are still doing well, in the music business. Wasn't Aaron's fault. So I'd show up for band practice down there. We'd cruise around the neighborhood and do fun things and jump on his trampoline and take pictures. Back in those days, Darren was not in the band at first, and then he was in the band. Darren, the drummer, Pfeiffer. Charlie was in the band for a little while, and then he wasn't. So like I've lived through multiple members quitting and coming back, and we'll see what happens. But Phil Moon, Viljean, is it? He's been the guitar player basically the whole time with me, except a few tours, including that first Australian tour. He was not there. That was Aaron Barrett on guitar that first time, and then another time it was the other time we went to Australia with Millencolin. It was Chris Chaney from The Living End played guitar with us because Phil could not make it. But Phil's been there times when I haven't been there because, there's been a European tour that I wasn't at the last time they were in Europe. But I've been to Europe with them like maybe three times at this point. Mainland Europe at least 2 times, and UK 3 times. We've done Slam Dunk. We've done a full tour with Less Than Jake. It's been many years and many shows, and we've released a couple albums. I heard Goldfinger has a new album in the works that John goes kind of crazy and we'll just start writing a new record, and he won't tell anybody, and he just kind of like goes mad scientist. And I do the same thing, so I'm glad that he did it, and I can't wait to hear those songs. I'm fully focused on my songs and pretty happy with them, so we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to be writing on any of this new record or not. It could happen. I think what he usually does is he writes most of the records, sees who he can get on certain parts. When those people flake out, then he turns to the band members and asks them to fill in and write. So he might ask me and Moon and I to write at the very end of the process, possibly. So, but if he doesn't, that's fine too, is what it is. It's his band. It is ultimately his decision. So that's how I do it now is actually a lot easier. How we practice now, how we get ready. I usually don't show up for practice rehearsals or anything ahead of time. We'll just show up to the show. We do sound check and just make sure we know what we're doing, work out any kinks during sound check. But I know all the songs. So it's great because John will have one of his assistants put together the set list on audio, and we play half step down, just like MXPX, half step down tuning. So E to E flat. Everything's tuned down on the recording, not the tempo, but just the tuning. And so we get a full list of songs in the right tuning in the order that we're going to do the set. And so I can just play the whole thing, or I can skip around and just repeat certain things. It's one file. It's on Dropbox. I just listen to it on, not even with my headphones. I just put on my earbuds and have my bass and listen to it. It's better if you have an amp so you can actually hear your bass. But sometimes I'll just take one ear out, have one ear with the music, one ear playing the bass, and do it like that and learn songs. And I even learn parts on my acoustic guitar so that I can actually hear the notes, and then I go over and play them on the bass just to get the feel right. So that's honestly the best way that I know how to learn songs. I'm sure there's better ways, but I just learn by ear, and I always have. And the way we sort of like actually do it has sort of changed. It's just as simple as playing it on your phone from a Dropbox file, and I'll usually save that file on my phone so I can even listen to it on the plane if I want to. So another thing that I do is not just practicing, because sometimes you don't have time to practice all day, right? Like, of course, you just practice maybe for an hour. Maybe you don't even have an hour. Maybe you have a half hour. That means you need to practice only the songs that you really need to know that you don't know. So like sometimes we'll get a few new songs that I don't know, and I have to really, really practice those a lot. And that's the case the last couple sets. And so we're playing a new set. We're starting with different songs than we used to, and it's great. I love it it's good to change it up. MXPX usually tries to do that when it makes sense to. Like when we have an era of songs, boom, we'll switch it up and start. I don't know if we're going to start with a different songs than Not Today for a while. It just seems to be a good song, but we'll do other songs after that and have a different set feel. But finally, Goldfinger's doing that, and I'm learning new songs, and I push myself to just make sure that I go over and over and over those ones. And then what I do for the other ones that I actually already know is I'll listen to them and not play. But I'll do it in a way, either I'm driving or I'm doing something passive, like, doing some chores, vacuuming. But usually when I'll do it is I'll put it on the plane when I'm just kind of zoning out. I'll put it on the plane, or whenever I don't want to listen to something else, I'll just get that immersed, in the back of my mind, So, and another thing I do is on the plane is I'll actually play the set with my fingers. Air bass is what I would call it. Air bass. I go along with all the songs and I imagine myself playing the notes, and I go, wait, I kind of, you can kind of skip over things like I probably didn't play that well, that fill. Oh, I biffed that fill. Here we are. We're on the next part. Here we go. But that really actually does help you. It's like practicing. It really is. Visualization. All right. That's enough with that. Let's get to the next part of your question.
In Baltimore a couple years ago, and you weren't there. Kelly Lemieux was on bass. So obviously you were unavailable for some reason. But just kind of how that works in terms of like how far in advance do they call you for shows, and kind of how does that all come together? Thanks so much.
All right. So that's a great question. Sometimes Kelly Lemieux. He was a bass player before me, and luckily he's a cool guy. Like I've been friends with him actually for longer than I've been friends with Charlie. But he plays with Buck Cherry, so he's not always available. I'm not always available. It's usually if MXPX is not available, or if I'm doing something for work or family or something, just something important, I'm not available. But for the most part, it really revolves around the MXPX schedule. And with Goldfinger, it's I usually find out. Sometimes I'll find out when it's announced, but I will have kind of heard about it, but didn't know it was like actually happening, and I'll find out when I see it online. And then when I find out if I'm playing it or not, will usually be, I don't know, a month before the show. Sometimes weeks, sometimes a week, but usually that's like, okay, you're going, but we just don't worry. You don't have to worry about it. You need to be, usually it's like with management, Tom Chichilla in particular, he wants me to be thinking about something else other than Goldfinger. So he will be like, don't worry about, like, you might not go to this show. And so he doesn't want me to like practice or think about it yet. And so I'm doing something else for MXPX or this or that, whatever. And then he'll be like, okay, yeah, you're probably, he won't even say I'm going. I'll just be like, I got my ticket. They bought my plane ticket, so I guess I'm going. So I'll get my plane ticket, and that's how I actually know, oh yeah, I'm going to do that Goldfinger show. So that's kind of funny, but it all revolves around schedule. Let's do one more voicemail.
Hey Mike, this is Dave from Michigan. I had a question last week, but I forgot to ask it. So I'm in the fitness industry. I work at Lifetime here in Mass, but I want to know what your fitness routine is. So you go to all those tours, you go to do all your shows. But what specifically do you do to work on, core and being able to throw the guitar, from one side to the other? Do you do like best ball tosses? Do you just repetition from just what you do? Because I know you said you like to run and do that as well, but I was just curious on if you guys have a specific routine that you follow to stay in shape for all your tours. And I also wanted to ask how your foot's doing, if that's fully healed up. Thanks for taking my call. Love the podcast. Keep it up. Thanks. Bye.
Dave, thanks for the call, dude. That was rad. Great question. I talk about it from time to time, but it's good to have an update. And the toe question really goes hand in hand with my routine lately, which has been a lot less than normal. But I did dislocate my toe, which basically is like a broken toe, but dislocated. It's not actually broken. It was the ligaments that really got a lot of trauma to them. So there was a lot of discomfort coming out of that. And I actually, I got it in traction. I got it put back together right away. And then all they can do is you just wrap it and you just go about your day. But what happened is I kept kicking things. I kept hitting it on things. It would literally crunch and I'd be like, I feel like it just broke even more. Like I'm just like in pain. And I'm just like, like it happened, I want to say once a week for 2 months. 2 months. It really, like right now, I need to knock on some wood. Right now is the longest I've gone without stubbing my toe or hitting my broken toe since it happened. And I feel like I've started over many times. I've talked to a friend, actually a friend of my wife's. I didn't talk to her. Let me be more truthful, but my wife was talking to her friend and she was saying, I broke my toe and I kept re-breaking it and it lasted a year. It did not heal for 1 year. She didn't go to the doctor. She didn't do anything. She just let it. She knew there was nothing that could be done. And I'm kind of in that boat right now where I kept breaking it. I kept like re-breaking it. Not break. I mean, who knows? I'm not getting an x-ray. I don't know if it's broken or not, but it keeps crunch, crack, keeps something happens to it, whether right at the very beginning, I grabbed it in the shower and just squeezed it. And it was so painful. I'm like, what did I just do? I've just kicked things. I've taken off my phone or taken off my shoe and it's rolled over onto my toe. And I'm just like, what? And like hit my toe. I think it's getting to the point where I'm getting much better at navigating. We were out at a cabin out in the woods in Washington, and sort of our annual family get together out for the holidays, and we had this little room, the master room in the back of the cabin where our suitcase is and the bed is. Everybody else is sleeping. Middle of the night, I walk into the room. It's night. It's dark. I stub my toe on the corner of the suitcase that's on the floor. No other toe, just the broken one. Just the broken one. So thank you for allowing me to vent a little bit about my toe. Now, it always gets just enough better, like when we're going to go do a show, when I'm going to go do something important, I wrap it up, put on the right shoes. It actually doesn't feel too bad. Okay, I can handle this. I pop some ibuprofen. But for the most part, it's just I need to stay off it so that I can heal it. And so aside from the shows, I've been trying to stay off it. And of course I'm not. I'm out there playing golf. I'm out here staining the wooden doors of the studio. But I'm finally healing. So thank you. What am I doing? What's my fitness routine? I'm disappointed because it really hasn't been great lately. I do push-ups every day. Sometimes I do planks when I think about it. I do some other, calisthenics on the floor. I do stretching, not enough stretching. I need to stretch a lot more. In fact, there's this stretch place that my wife goes to because her sister goes there. And so let's try it. She tried it. She signed me up because I was gonna go. I'm like, that would be a good idea. I could use some stretching. It's like physical therapy, but just like a private company that just does mainly stretching. And it really helps people that need to stretch. I don't know what it's called. It's probably called like the stretch zone or something like that. But I decided I didn't want to do that because my toe still hurts and I can't really I don't know. I can't do things the way I can do them when my toe's fine. So my priority right now is not fitness. It is tonus. It is toe wellness. So, tonus. What am I going to call this podcast? I shouldn't call it tonus. That's dumb. But, toe wellness centers. The toe wellness center. The toe question. The toe dilemma. Toe dilemma. Whoa, I thought there was a back on this chair. Okay, this podcast has gone way off the rails. All right, my fitness routine is basically I get up in the morning, I stretch a little bit. I do push-ups. I do as many push-ups as I can. I stretch a little bit more. For the most part, that's mostly what I'm doing these days. I traditionally like to play a lot of tennis. I've been laying off that. I'm also in Waco, which I don't have anybody to play tennis with, so it's a little different. So my fitness is pretty much playing with the kids, throwing roadie around, throwing roadie on the bed, breaking the bed, doing manual labor, doing chores, lifting mulch for the wife. She's lifting mulch. She's doing plenty. But that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. But once I'm healed up, heading into spring, I'm ready to get back to more tennis, more biking. I want to get a bike. I have a BMX bike, but I want to get like an actual bike I can go further and go real distance with. And I was thinking about swimming. Just swimming seems like a great alternative to running, which running kind of destroyed my knees and my feet a little bit. So I don't know if I'm going to be running anytime soon because of the toe and the knee. You know, my knee actually is fine. It's not getting worse. But I don't know if it's getting better. It's kind of weird. It's weird like that. But little nicks and scrapes, but nothing that's going to take me out for sure. So looking at the future, I'm looking at swimming, bike riding, tennis, possibly some more golf. I really enjoyed golf. It gets your heart rate up, but you're also like really using muscles that you don't normally use, using your whole core. Really enjoy that. You know, just the walking part of golf is great too. You know, as we know, nations that walk have a higher survival rate in general. So can't go wrong with any of those things. It's finding the time, because MXPX and music and this business takes up so much of my time. And then, all my free time I want to spend with the family or, pretty much with the family. But that's life. Everybody's got those problems, right? I want to hear what you guys got going on. And if anybody has any ideas for me, that, maybe you used to run and you found something that was easier on the joints and call in. The number's 360-830-6660. All right. Dave, thanks for the call. I appreciate your calls, you guys, always. MXPX.com. We got vinyl. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats. We got a lot of cool stuff. Appreciate you. If you have any issues, we got great customer service. You can actually email a human being that will email you back, or call if you get that into it. But shout out to Mary, shout out to my mom, Michelle, shout out to Trey. They're holding it down at the merch arsenal, so thank you. And shout out to Bob McKnight, producing, engineering the podcast. I appreciate you, my man. And if anybody has a business that needs somebody, I don't know, Bob's always looking for a side gig. So maybe we'll talk about that more in the future. But Music Monday, we're going to put one together soon. So if you've submitted, we'll get to you. I'll just go where we left off, and we'll get that list moving for Music Monday. If to submit, just go to the Mike Herrera podcast page on Facebook, join our group, and then post a YouTube link. Tell us your band name, where you're from, a little, the song name, and anything else you want. Of course, I'll read your message and play your song and talk a little bit about the song. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching the podcast. If you watch on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I posted that Newfound Glory video from last week. I was talking about the Newfound Glory, giving us their demo, and so I posted that on YouTube, and I get 75 maybe 200 views or something. I'm like, what is going on with my YouTube? Because if I posted on Instagram and I get 20,000, 40,000 views or something. It was a big video. TikTok was way more views than I normally get. It was in the 10,000 range or something. So it's weird. I'm in a weird algorithm on YouTube where just nobody sees that when I post it. And maybe it's because I'm just never on there except for I just post. But I'm just thinking out loud right now. Love y'all. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm going to get back to songs. All right. Doing what I do best back here. Peace.